sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Cimnanya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So the fact that colored people think that black people do not have any right to talk about what is going on in black community or how they are being treated or what it's like, how life is going on in their community and all that. You are not supposed to complain because you are privileged to be in United States, because United States is a free country, a country that is filled with milk and honey. How dare you complain? If you dare ever complain about rich decision that is going on in United States, you are also the problem, because you were given privilege in a platter of gold to come over here and prosper. So, and they are trying to tell you that there are so many people in Africa that is going through it, because Africa is not a place to be. Africa, they live in herds and the rest of it. So you are more opportune than people there, because your life is better. So you are supposed to suck in anything that is happening to you, whether good or bad, whether you are, no, but whatever that is happening to you, you are supposed to suck it in and enjoy it. Why? Because you are in the United States. The fact that a lot of people have this mindset to this very moment, it's really very sickening. Now, let me say this. I have a problem with people that see what is true and say that what is true is wrong and what is wrong is true. It's really it's really very problematic. Let's get into this.
Pro-Palestine people are actually worse than the BLM people were, which I didn't even know that was possible. If you're so fond of a place, I suggest you leave America and you go there and you fight for that thing that you believe so strongly about. It has no place here anymore. I'm frankly very over it. America's so bad. On your Whittle College campus, your parents paid for. You know who's not blocking airports? You know who's not blocking me from getting inside a coffee shop? My Jewish friends, because they're all at work making money. Because they're smart.
I don't remember when was the last time I recorded a video like this, but I'm rushing because you are actually the worst type of person. No, like, real life, the worst type of person. Like, when we talk about white woman tears and white fragility, you are the carbon copy. Like, if I Googled that shit, you would pop up. Like, take any crack at defining the phrase first world problem and you'll probably just be reading verbatim from this person's birth certificate. You are concerned about being blocked entry to a coffee shop and you're not wanting to talk about this issue and you're over it. When we're talking about people dying, you are currently alive. So I genuinely don't think you understand what it means to be dead. None of us really do. What coffee shop do people in Gaza go to right now? The one that got blown up? What living room do many of these people sit in while they're talking about how someone else's problem isn't really mattering and, you're privileged for talking about it because you're on a college campus? In fact, what college campus do they go to and protest different injustices? The ones that got blown the fuck up? You did a baby voice imitating college students standing in solidarity with people in Gaza, calling them privileged little babies who are getting their college paid for, while you're sitting in a pristine living room talking about how you're over the fact that people are dying. I don't give a fuck if you're tired. I don't give a fuck if you want coffee. I don't give a fuck if you're sad and upset that people are exercising the rights given to them by the Constitution of this country. And I want you to know personally, that the only thing stopping me from spelling out exactly every single way I despise you is community guidelines. One of the things that have swindled so many people on the right is the concept of showing emotion and believing strongly in something being weak or being feminine. And all of you are so allergic to thinking about your own thinking that you've actually reached a point where I could spell out to you how many times that, like, literally where you're sitting could be rubble and everyone in your family that you love, know, and hold close and hold dear, and anyone that you've ever talked to could literally be wiped out in an instant, and then you'd get to know the pain of the people who are on the ground, and none of y'all would care because people who don't give a fuck about you have convinced you that you are any different than the people on the ground. And you get to feel good and you get to win internet points from owning these crybaby liberals on college campuses. And none of it matters at all because, again, you're safe and secure under this false security blanket that people have lulled you into believing could never vanish. I really hope at some point in your life you get to look back on this impact that you're having on the world right now with everything that you're doing and you drop your fucking chin. I'm linking this GoFundMe in my bio. Click it and donate whatever you can to help get this family out of.
The pro-Palestine people are actually worse than the BLM people were, which I didn't even know that was.
Genuinely, I don't think we've come to terms with the fact that, like, there are so many people that we have to share a society with that are genuinely and ontologically evil. And, like, obviously, this, like, entity is, like, a genuine fascist. She literally speaks on Fox News. But there are so many people in this society that think like that person. And it's not just having low empathy, because, like, being low empathy is, like, a medical thing. These people legitimately revel in turning their empathy off. To the extent that not only is she not going to practice empathy, but when she sees someone else practicing empathy, that makes her upset. And so, like, it's banal, but this is the kind of societal evil that has infiltrated America. And, like, I've jokingly said that, like, America needs to be occupied and, like, denazified, but, like,
people who play the victim card while living in America. You live in America, bitch. You live in the freest, safest country in the world, and you have the nerve to play the victim card? You realize there's slave traders in Africa right now. Look it up. Look up that video of all those African slaves at an auction. That's going on right now. And you have the nerve to be complaining about racism in America?
Victim card is a term that gets thrown around and thrown in the faces of black people who dare to bring any attention to racism, the very racism that permeates this country. We get told we have a victim mentality, and we need to understand that slavery is over, Jim Crow is over, you can be successful now. But see, people who have a victim mentality don't have empathy for others. And when it comes to black people, throughout history, black people have been the backbone of support for other suppressed and oppressed groups. We couldn't do that if we lacked empathy. People with a victim mentality also give up on everything. And we know that we as black people have never given up. From fighting for our freedom, to fighting for our rights, and to today, fighting against ongoing racism. Black people actually, historically, have proven ourselves to actually be the opposite of having a victim mentality, but have proven ourselves to be characterized by self-empowerment and resilience, even in the face of adversity. But it is the insecurity and anti-blackness of white people that has caused white people to see all black empowerment and black resilience as a threat. White people have actively done everything they could, everything in their power, to crush any black empowerment or black self-sufficiency. And still, we continue to stand up and keep going forward, not giving up. Bringing attention to an ongoing oppressive system embedded in our society is not being a victim, it's being a realist. In fact, going by recorded history and the current attitudes and behaviors of white people, the ones they display, especially at the mention of racism, upon further investigation, we will actually see that it is white people who hold the narcissistic victim mentality by trying to portray themselves as victims of reverse racism or hate because a black person speaks about racism. We see over and over again how they have tried to paint themselves as innocent and portray black people as the aggressors. And then there's the undeniable lack of empathy. And no, America is not the safest country in the world. That would be Canada. Yeah. In fact, the United States doesn't even make the top 15 list. America is also not the freest country in the world. In fact, the U.S. doesn't even make the top 5. But America is ranked as one of the worst countries in the world when it comes to human trafficking, which you would have seen had you done a smidgen of research instead of just going off of what you heard somebody say. In fact, over 200,000 American children are at risk for being trafficked into the industry. Do you know who the most likely to be trafficked is? Black women, with indigenous women following closely. Black women and black girls are far more vulnerable to trafficking than any other race. Indigenous women and indigenous girls being trafficked at similar rates. And slavery? The estimated total number of people living in modern slavery in the U.S. is actually highest of all countries in the region, with vulnerability largely driven by discrimination toward migrants and minority groups, as well as driven by poverty and the use of state-imposed forced labor within the prison system. That's right, because slavery in America never truly ended. It's simply transformed by utilizing the clause in the 13th Amendment. Slavery nor involuntary servitude except for when convicted of a crime, shall exist in the United States. Interestingly, people of color are more likely to be incarcerated than white people, and black Americans being imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. I wonder why that is. Oh yeah, racism. You know, that pesky little thing that we keep talking about. That same thing that y'all keep saying y'all experience while also calling us having a victim mentality and playing the victim card when you feel guilty and uncomfortable on the topic. It takes a lot fewer words to say you're a racist. Have the day you deserve, love.
In 2008 and 2012, you voted for
Barack
Obama. And who will you vote for in 2024?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
People are Democrats until they grow up. Women take a little bit longer because they're more emotional. Start looking at them taxes. You start looking at policy. You're in a position where you're leading your family. And when you get to that particular situation, you say, well, wait a minute. None of this stuff makes sense. What have I been thinking?
Can we please stop couching the sheer disregard of people's rights and lives as, oh, you know what, I became a man and I grew up quicker, you know, and oh no, I was looking at them policies. No, the fuck you weren't. I beg to differ, sir. Because when you ask people like Brandon Tatum what Trump has done for black people, they will, like an NPC straight out of a video game, rattle off either PPP or First Step Act or some shit. And we're going to talk about both of those, but first, let's talk about the First Step Act. If you're not aware of what it is, the First Step Act is the bipartisan criminal justice bill passed in 2018 under the Trump administration that aimed to cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve conditions in federal prisons. It was primarily aimed at nonviolent drug offenders, and the 2010 act shrank the disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine when it came to sentencing from 100 to 1 to 18 to 1. The First Step Act essentially took this and said that anyone who was sentenced under the 100 to 1 disparity will then have their case reevaluated based on the 18 to 1 disparity, getting the chance to shrink the sentence of a lot of people. By most metrics, excluding things like additional systemic racism and failures, overall this bill is succeeding at many of the criminal justice reform initiatives that it set out to accomplish. So it sounds very good for Republicans, doesn't it? Until you fucking realize that a very similar bill to this one was supposed to pass under Barack Obama. But much in the same way that they did with Amy Coney Barrett's appointment to the Supreme Court, the Republicans just made some shit up and decided we're gonna block this bill from happening. And Mitch McConnell toad ass decided not to bring a vote on this bill despite it being supported from people all over the political spectrum, including the fucking Koch brothers, just because they didn't want to give Obama a legacy victory. Also, stop me if this sounds familiar, despite crime being at the lowest rate it had ever been, Republicans took a mini spike in order to justify not putting the bill through, despite the fact that the bill was aimed at non-violent drug offenders. Republicans then allowed the bill to pass under Donald Trump and got his support for it in order for them to be able to say we did the big criminal justice reform under a Republican president. And I wish this is where it ended, but oh no, it gets fucking worse. Literally, as Trump was celebrating someone who got released under this bill, his own Department of Justice's prosecutors were trying to convince judges to put that same person back in prison. His DOJ was arguing that people who should have their cases reviewed should have them reviewed based on the amount of drugs that they allegedly had at the time of their arrest, as opposed to the amount of drugs that they were convicted of having, trying to narrow their interpretation of the bill so it applied to as little people as possible, while trying to tout its successes to people like Brandon Tatum and Lil Wayne to gain support within the black community. Not to fucking mention, Trump and Republicans don't even fucking defend it anymore because they're trying to use a crime spike under a Democratic president to say that we shouldn't do any criminal justice reform despite the law being towards non-violent drug offenders. Trump's new proposal for sentencing reform is now giving drug dealers the fucking death penalty. And before you say it, not only did a lot of people within the black community support the trash-ass crime policies of the 90s, guess what political party pushed the Dems to the right, calling them weak on crime in order to get things like the various crime bills that we saw led to mass incarceration. But then I got older, I started doing taxes, and I'm a man, and the women too emotional, so they can't see that the Republicans
So this
shut
is
the
how
fuck
I
up and try hard.
finished the video, and the fact that people are moving crazy every day is something that I found very, very interesting. And why is it that each time black people talk about the racism that they face or the things going on around them, they are reminded that they are better off people because they live in United States, and because United States is a free country, and United States is a place where anybody can come and make it. And United States is, how can you have that kind of freedom, or how can you have that kind of privilege, or how can you be that privileged and you are still complaining about the racism going on? So in other words, they are trying to tell you to suck it up, suck it up with the racism that black people have been seeing every day. and then focus on the fact that you are opportune, because it's not like you are opportune. I mean, it's a privilege to be here. So suck it up and continue with whatever that is happening to you, and move on with life and all that. That tells you how evil people are. Sincerely speaking, some people are very, very sick and needs really medical attention, but they refuse to acknowledge it, and they always come on the internet every day to gaslight themselves, not even Black people. And all these are part of the rage farming that we'll talk about. They use Black people's, what do they call it? They use their trauma to get to them, to make them react and all that. And then they end up saying that you are emotional, you know, or you people cannot talk about some certain things without being emotional. Why won't people be emotional? Why won't people react on how? It's really crazy, because people are going to, how do I say that? People are going to beat you or hit you, and at the same time expect you not to cry. People are going to hurt you and watch you bleed and expect you not to feel bad, because you do not have any right to feel bad. Why? Because they gave you the privilege. So you are supposed to suck in everything that happens to you. Why? Because you are not supposed to show emotions. Black people wake up every day to different stories, different things, and all that. It's very rare for me to wake up and see where Black people are looking for anybody's trouble, or calling people to tell them what they are supposed to do in that community and what they are not supposed to do, how they are supposed to react and how they are not supposed to react, whom they are supposed to vote and who they are not supposed to vote for. It really sucks, you know? If they do not bring Black people into any discussion, it is not okay. It is not enough. They must look for a way to drag them into it so that the conversation will be complete. You already can do better, because I don't see Black people bothering anybody. I rarely wake up to say Black people bother people. So you all can actually mind your business and mind what is going on in your community. And also that shows how evil people are. I keep saying it. Anybody that can wake up, if you wake up and you see what is wrong, and you said that what is wrong is right, you are evil. You are not a good person. You are not supposed to live in among us. You should have a separate place where you stay. Because when people see what is going to hurt other people, if you see what will hurt people and do not speak on it and do not say it, you are also part of the people hurting the society or hurting people. So do not think because it's your pop color or because it's your right and all that, you can hide some certain things and choose to be evil. Because some people, that is what it runs in their veins, to be evil. That is what they know how to do best. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.